Welcome to the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast with global sales trainer and professional speaker, Lois Kofi. Each week, it is her goal to share inspiration and education for you to be, do, have the best health and wealth and wisdom for your life.
Well, all right. Happy Friday, guys. It's that time again. This is Coach Lois with Healthy and Wealthy and Wise. And we have amazing content in store for you guys today. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. As a reminder, if you're tuning in live, go ahead and comment below, #live. If you're watching on the replay, go ahead and turn your phone off, Lois. That would be a good thing to do as well. That never happens during the show. It's always fun. And anyway, we're going to be talking today about some really, really powerful stuff that you are not going to want to miss out on. So make sure you have something to write with and to write on, because I have an amazing guest and a friend that I met this year, thanks to the online world and online networking. Otherwise, Cathy, I don't know how else I would have met you. But each week, guys, I bring experts on health, wealth, or some kind of innate wisdom that they've learned through this journey called life. So today we have Cathy Demers, who has been running the Business Success Cafe. If you guys are on my email list, you know I was on that earlier this year. That's a weekly education program for small business owners. She's been doing it for 8+ years. So if you do the math, as Cathy reminded me, that's over 400 shows, 400 episodes. So she knows how to have a show and an interview series, which is what we're going to talk about today. She also took an internet company public. She co-founded it and then listed on the stock exchange. And she was also recently the winner of Canadian Women Entrepreneur of the Year Award for Western Canada. So Cathy, I'd love for you to dive in. I know you're going to deliver 8 big benefits of running an interview series and going beyond this world of podcasting, but tell us a little bit more about how you got to be so successful.
Well, I want to mention, first of all, that award was a long time ago, many years ago. I also won the top 40 business in Vancouver, top 40 under 40. I do not qualify for that award anymore and have not qualified for a very long time. So I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. But, I'm really excited about being here today, Lois, because I have so invested in figuring out how to make ongoing expert interviews like this one, like the one you're doing here today, really work for my business and for other small business owners. And it's been fantastic. And running the Business Success Cafe every week for all these years now has taught me a lot, but there's also some really big benefits that I don't think are really obvious from the outside. And so if people are running an interview series like this, or like the Business Success Cafe, or they're thinking about it and they're like, that kind of seems like maybe a lot of fun, but maybe there's a lot of work and I'm not so sure all the benefits are there, then I thought this would be a really great thing for you and I to talk about, because we both do this and have done it for some time. So sound good?
That sounds wonderful. I've got my notes ready to take. I'm going to be taking copious notes. And guys, don't forget, we do normally have live Q&A during this show. We will probably not have as much time to answer those questions, but do still comment. And as always, I don't want to forget this. If you see value in this on live or replay, please hit the share button. Okay, I'm good to go. Take it away.
Share away. So yeah, good points. First of all, everyone listening, get a pen or a paper or whatever it is you use to take notes these days, because I'm going to go fast. There's a lot to cover. And you're going to want to write these down so that you can explore them a little bit further than we have time. And I'm going to try and leave some time for some questions as well. Lois, this is great. And I want you to hop in at any time because you'll have some comments. So the 8 big benefits that I'm going to talk about, they vary a little bit depending on the format. My format for the Business Success Cafe is a bit different than a podcast. And every time I think about changing it up, I go, why? It's working. It's working well the way it is. So some of these may apply and some of them won't. But first of all, I do want to say that I have yet to find a niche or a market where running an ongoing expert interview series won't work and give you at least the majority of these benefits. There isn't one that I know of. I've had clients who've done interviews on, dating, on finding Mr. Right, for example. And on that note, my husband's name is Mr. Right. My girlfriends can't believe that I passed up the opportunity to wear the label of Mrs. Right, because they know how much I like being right all the time.
Well, and the women are always right? Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I could have had the label, Mrs. Right, on my cards, my business cards. But anyway, that's another story. So there isn't a niche that I've come across. Well, this will not work. So it doesn't matter if your market niche is, having to do with, teaching autistic children, or, anywhere where there is content being published by people who have some expertise, this will work for you. Okay, so there you go, right out the can. And my market is small business owners. My topic area is around small business development. So let's get right into the 8 big benefits. The 8. All right. So number 1, list building. Social media is fantastic. Here we are. This is great. But when it comes right down to it, you want to build a list of engaged followers, an email list. And that's one of the things that I use my interview series for, is for building my email list and building my engagement. And so every week when I send out messages to my list subscribers about what's coming up, I get engagement. Right. So, and the experts that I interview, they assist me in, building the list. Oh, Lois, you're typing each of these out. This is fantastic. I love that. Making it easy for people. That's great. And so, I got to say that is, across the board, one of the biggest benefits. And when you build a list of people who are in your market and they're following you and they're interested in what you're doing, and they open your email and it's completely separate from the whims or algorithms of any social media platform, you have an asset. You have an asset that, done properly, you can just dip right into and bring revenue out. Right. So that's number 1. And I think it's probably, of all of them, the most lucrative, because you're building an asset. So when you build a following on Facebook, you're kind of at Facebook's whims as to whether or not that's going to work. And when you post something, whether or not they're going to show it. But when you own your email list, you determine what is sent, when, and how, and the messaging. And you can track who's opening, following, and all that kind of stuff. So, I think a lot of people, because social media is, so broad, there's so many different platforms, are kind of thinking that email's dead, right? And there's some challenges with getting people to read emails and open emails, but it is still one of the very few places where you own the asset. With social media platforms, you can build a following, but in the end, they own it. So did you have something you wanted to say about that, Lois?
You read my facial expression. And I've heard this, and I can't remember if it was, I don't know who said this, but this was over a decade ago. It might have even been Seth Godin, who talks about permission-based marketing and getting opt-ins and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And they said that if you have a quality list, right, of 1,000 people, that could be as much over your lifetime of business ownership, $1 million asset. Have you heard that before?
I haven't heard that particular number, but I believe it. I mean, I have people who've been on my email list for over 8 years, opening my emails. And not every email includes an offer, obviously, or I'd chase them off my list. But, they respond to the things that are there. And so, so if you're not building a list, having an expert interview series is a really great way to do it. Mm. It's a really great leg up. Yeah. So I haven't heard that number, but it's enormous. It's huge. What I have heard people say time and time again is, I wish I'd started building my list sooner.
I can attest to that. I just started building my list last year. And if I can throw this one more thing and then I'll zip it, I don't know if you would have had me on your show had I not told you I had a list at that time of 4,000 of actual paying subscribers. I mean, that's an asset that also is an energy exchange of saying, hey, Cathy, I'm here to give you value and give you my list, more or less, right? Of giving an exchange. Would you say that that's also true?
Yeah, that's also true. But for me, I mean, I didn't start this way. I mean, before, anybody who could fog a mirror, I'd have on my program if the content was a good fit, right? Because you've got to start somewhere. But now I'm at the point where I do have a minimum list size. But for me, it's more about if you have been building a list, then you're in business. I mean, that demonstrates to me that you've figured a few things out and you're really seriously in business. And so you're more likely to have some of the other pieces in play as well. Whereas if people don't have a list, I'm like, well, are you really serious about this whole online marketing thing? So does that make sense? Great. Okay. So I'm looking at the clock here, gonna get whipping through the rest of it. But we've alluded to this a couple of times. Number 2, relationship building. Relationship building. And in 2 areas. One is relationship with people who have opted in. They've said, yes, I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're doing. I want to, be part of your community. But the other relationship is the relationship with the experts who you bring onto your program. And a lot of people are fearful about this. They think, oh, I don't have a big enough email list. They won't be interested in me. They've never heard of me before, that type of thing. But the truth is that these experts are looking for exposure. They're looking for places for people to feature them. And the other thing is, once they're on your interview program, you can do some other cool things together. I have developed some really great relationships with people over the last few years, and I keep going back to them and we keep doing things together. So when you have a venue by which you can feature them and put a spotlight on them and their expertise and what they're doing, again, no matter what market, you develop a relationship with them. And you have a reason to do it rather than just reaching out to them on LinkedIn and say, hey, do you want to have a chat? You seem like a person I'd like to get to know. And they're like, well, why? What's in it for me? So that's number 2. Do you have a comment or a question on that? I mean, that's how we met.
And I think you're going to get to 100%. Yeah. I like being able to swap that energy exchange, that value exchange. It has made my life so much easier. Exactly. And then you deepen the relationship so much faster because you get to the heart of the matter. It is relationship building and business and making money together, almost like a joint venture at the same time. And it's a beautiful thing. Do you have a number of interviews that you do per week? Can you overdo too many interviews? I just had that.
Well, for me, the Business Success Cafe happens every Thursday, every week. Right. Okay. I do have people who've started their expert interview series with less, like once a month. The problem is it's difficult to get the momentum on some of these benefits if you don't do it often enough, right? People want to hear, your list wants to hear from you more frequently, social media more frequently. So at a minimum, I'd say twice a month and then move up to, or twice a month and then move up to once a week. Once a week is a lot until you have your systems in place. It can be a little consuming, I will tell you. I'm going to talk about that in a sec. So let's scoot into number 3. Right. When I built the company that I took public, we got investors in place because we need to grow in an internet business. You need to grow really quickly. So we brought investors. We used what we called OPM, other people's money, because we didn't have any. We started with $10,000, right? So we used other people's money. Well, one of the great benefits of running an expert interview series is that you don't want to be creating content every week. I mean, that's all you'd be doing. It takes a lot of content to run an online business and to do the marketing. So when you have an ongoing expert interview series, you're using what I call OPC, other people's content. And, in not only very ethical way. So you're using my content today, Lois, this is my content and I'm delivering it to your people. And, you'll thank me for it. It's like, how cool is that? Because here we go. You don't have to create content for this week's episode. You invite someone in who has content that your list would be interested in. So OPC, huge, huge benefit. Now, I'm not sure if I just lost you, Lois, but your video is gone. So I don't know if Lois is gone. I can't see her. So I'm
sorry. That was okay. A freak accident. You're still going. So that's the most important thing. Yes,
I could just keep talking about this all day.
I wanted to clarify. So number 3, because I'm taking notes, guys, and I hope you guys are taking notes, was OPC.
Other people's content.
Got it.
Yeah. Perfect. So list building, relationship building, other people's content. Number 4, reusable content. This is so cool because you can use the content that is used in your interview series in a number of different formats. You can use it in video format. You can use it audio format. You can send it to your list. You can post it on social media. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do. And typically, depending on your arrangement with the expert, okay, I need to put air quotes around that, it's your content. It becomes your content. You can do what you want with it. You can put it in a membership program. You can put it in a number of different places. You can, label it however you like. Now, there's some caveats, obviously. You don't want to like rip it off, right? Just, take the words and create your own content kind of idea, because that would be plagiarism. But the fact that you can reuse this content, that's a really big benefit of these expert interviews. So number 5, one of my personal favorites. It doesn't take much money to start and run your own expert interview series, right? It's a really low cost to get in and get started. You don't need many tools. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment. And there's not that many things out there where you can actually get started with a really small list, a really small engagement, and a really low investment in dollars in getting this all set up. You're nodding your head, Lois. I'm going to get you to make a comment on that.
I'm excited because I was just telling my coaching clients this morning, I started a list from zero.
Yeah.
And one of the ways I did it,
by the way, so did I. We all do.
Yep. So one of the ways I built it was having these live streams. I used StreamYard. I even used the free, membership or free tool. Now I upgraded to the paid membership because I wanted to have all my colors and my logo and blah, blah, blah. And I built that list from 0 to 2,000 doing expert interviews on StreamYard. And I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have all the shiny objects. Oh, by the way, I traveled. I'm in Minnesota right now. I'm not in California where I normally reside. So I took my studio for my interview with me, and it's perfect. So you're right.
Yep. And it's a lot less expensive now than when I started. It was inexpensive then. It was a low cost, but it's even less now because there's all these free tools available that weren't available to me when I started. So that would be, where are we at? That was number 5.
Yeah, we just had numero 5. So number 6.
Because the last one I want to spend some significant time on. So number 6, credibility and visibility. Okay, well, maybe that's 2 separate ones, but I put them together at one. And here's the interesting thing about credibility. Now, I've been doing this expert interview series now for a very long time, and typically the format is fairly similar. I introduce the expert, they teach some content, I thank the expert. Sometimes in between, I'll ask a question or make a comment. Usually I do. That's it. And guess what happens? People think I'm an expert in all these different content areas. They think I'm an expert at, building small businesses. Well, I have a lot of knowledge. I'll admit that. But it's interesting how it's like this borrowed credibility. It's like I bring these experts in, and because I've been able to source them, I'm elevated in my credibility in the area of building businesses. So it's amazing to me that I'm given so much more credit than I probably deserve because I actually add very little to each of these interviews. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, my job's important, don't get me wrong, but I'm not adding to the content, but boy, do I look smart.
Well, it's even like Alex Trebek and, those game show hosts, right? They're Alex Trebek, rest in peace, Alex. But he was just like everyone. He's like this big, amazing, visible, credible dude. And all he did was have people, ask questions. You know what I mean?
I think that's a really good example. Alex Trebek, bright man. Don't get me wrong, but he's almost been elevated to genius level because of who he surrounded himself with all these geniuses.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good example. I think it is. So good. All right. So visibility, the other piece of it. Oh la la, kind of goes without saying because when other experts are saying I'm on her program, right? So I'm on Lois's program. I mean, that's just more credibility and visibility for you. And I tell people about it. It's like fantastic as the host. So a really big benefit, credibility and visibility. And if you have to sort of build it on your own by posting your own, how-to videos on YouTube or tips on Facebook, yes, you can do it, but it's not nearly as fast. And you don't get that extra credibility boost as when someone else thinks you're wonderful enough to be on your program. Yeah. All right. So number 7. I keep saying this is my favorite. They're all my favorite. But this one is so important from a business perspective. And that is that when you have an expert interview series and you run it weekly or bi-weekly, as the case may be, it's highly systematizable. If that's an English word, I don't really know. But you can create these systems. Excuse me one sec. Now, when you create these systems, the other side benefit of that is then you can outsource parts of it. Right? Without systems, it's really difficult to get a team involved to help you with running this thing. So I have a small team of part-timers. They help me so that this doesn't completely absorb me. I like my sanity, sort of relatively intact. But I do have this motto too. When you're looking at different business opportunities and strategies, think to yourself, if I can't systematize it, get good at it, put a system in place, and then replicate it over and over again, should I even do it? So if it can't be systematized, should I even do it? Now, the answer may be yes, but it may be no. So when you have an ongoing expert interview series, I've run 400 episodes. Without a system, it wouldn't be doable. It just wouldn't be doable. But it also allows me to have this really clean, well-designed system. My team knows what to do, when to do it, so I don't have to do it all myself. The experts know what to expect. It makes me look professional to the experts. Several times they've told me, wow, that was just an easy process. Thank you for making it so clear and easy. And it's not without its complicated bits. But when you systematize it, then you can scale it. It's so important.
Which means, can I say something to that?
Yeah.
Because you run a really tight ship, and I so appreciated that about you. I knew you had a system, and I was like, whoa. And I referred you people to be on your show, right? So when you have a system, you get more referrals. You have a system, you get things done in an efficient way, so you're not bogged down. There's a statistic out there, I'm sure you've heard it, that 70% of the people who start a podcast, which I know that there's different ways of doing live streams. It doesn't have to be a podcast, but 70% of them quit in their first 3 months because it becomes an expensive hobby and a time suck. And it's because exactly what you said, they probably didn't have help outsourcing the technology part, and they were overcomplicating it and not running it through a system. So that's great.
Wow, that's an astounding number. That's really an astounding number. And I think part of it is that, maybe some people think that just do the fun part, and somehow the rest of it sort of magically takes care of itself. But, when you look at it from a business perspective and all the different benefits of it, I think really keep those in mind, which is, I think it's one of the reasons why this is important that we talk about it today. Then you have the stick-to-itiveness to keep moving through it. And, things were messy when I first started. There was no system. Nobody had been doing this quite the way that I was. And so I had to build the system, but I was focused. And, just yesterday we had a little part of the Business Success Cafe that didn't go particularly well. And in talking to my team, they're like, well, this didn't get done. I'm like, okay, well, it's got to go on our checklist, right? Let's get it on the checklist. And
you're still learning. You're still learning after 400 shows. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But those systems are so important. It's like, okay, well, how do we deal with this so that it's less likely to happen again? And I don't have to check on it. I don't want to check on it.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So So when you're doing something consistently like this, it's highly systematizable. And if it's highly systematizable, then it's scalable. And that's important.
Awesome.
So how are we doing for time? We got time for the last one?
Yeah, we got time for the last one. Bring it home, Cathy. Bring it home.
This is the one I think most people are waiting for. It's like, okay, it sounds like a lot of work so far, Cathy. But number 8, multiple revenue sources. There are multiple ways that you can earn revenue from your own expert interview series. Now, you may choose some of these. You may choose all of them. Probably not a good idea. But let me go through them really quickly. Okay, there's 6. Lois knows how organized I am. Okay, I'm ready for this call. All right, there's 6 of them. I'm going to go over them quite quickly. So number 1, fees for attending. Right? Depending on who your experts are and how you sift this out, people are used to paying to learn from particular people. They are, right? So if I had someone like, I don't know, I'm just going to pick a name, Elton John, coming to talk about, how to write songs. I mean, I could charge for that.
Heck yeah.
Right? Heck yeah. Right. So don't discount that, right? Fees for attending, and you can do them on an ongoing basis, and people learn that, these are coming up. Another one is fees for replays. That's fairly common. And so for me, for example, my replays are free for a particular period of time. And then after that, I charge a fee for them, right? A membership program. And, that's a convenience for people. But so I have a combination of these. So, but don't discount charging for the replays. Okay, for the people's ability to watch them at their own convenience whenever they like. Again, depending on the content and what market you're in. If you're in a highly skilled market where people pay top dollar for consultants, maybe it's legal, for example, there's a lot of content there you wouldn't necessarily give away for free, and people would be more than happy to pay for the replay to get the content. Right. So, and these days, if everything seems to be free, that's not so. Let's see, reselling content in multiple formats. So I've seen people sell their replays because they include with their replays a complete transcript. Right. So maybe it's the audio, and then if you pay, you get the video, and then if you pay more, you get the transcript. I mean, people will pay a little extra in order to get the format that they really prefer. So there's that as well. Let's see, referral fees from the experts who you interview. Now, this is a common one. We call them referral fees, affiliate commissions, whatever it happens to be. But if you've introduced an expert to a new audience that they would not have had access to otherwise, then, asking them for a reward for introducing people to this new group it's not uncommon. I do it all the time. You probably do it as well, Lois.
Well, I've paid you, Cathy. I was happy to pay you. I've gotten some amazing clients as a result of being on your show.
And you're very welcome. And I appreciate you for sending me some revenue that helps to fund what I'm doing over here. So really good example of just one of the revenue streams that are available. Let's see, offering your own products. When you use your expert interview series to build your list, then it gives you an opportunity. People who are interested in your subject area, they've come because you've done some interview or something, they're engaged with you. You have things you can sell them, your consulting or coaching, your other programs. So this is a really, really important side benefit, not even a side benefit. It can be the primary reason why you run an expert interview series. Right? That can be it. And then the sixth one, which I don't do as much of as I probably should and could be doing, and that is sponsorship and advertising. We see this a lot in podcasting, right? Popular podcasts are getting like huge amounts of revenue from sponsorship, from particular brands or companies, but also from advertising revenue. So that is a good one. So there's 6 different ways to monetize your expert interview series, and there's probably a few I haven't thought of, and we don't have time to cover. So that's a lot. Right?
You made me think of something. There's because of interview series or even just live streams, expert information content being shared, whether it was podcast or not. That's how I hired both of my coaches.
There you go.
So just throwing it out there, it works.
That's how you found your coaches and hired your coaches, right? Yeah, definitely.
Wow, guys. Well, we're at the tail end here. I know that I already asked one of the questions that was shared, guys. If you aren't already inside of my Facebook community, where you can find Cathy and all of our expert guests, and continue to be wowed by wisdom like this, go to healthyandwealthyandwise.com and please jump in. The water's warm. We'd love to have you learn, and I hope you guys took notes. Please hit the share button. Thank you so much, Cathy. That was tremendous value. And I hope you guys hit the share button so more people can learn about this, because there's a lot of people out there struggling with list building. They're struggling with sales. They're struggling with, how do I create content that gives value? How do I be consistent with all of those other things? And Cathy pretty much gave you everything. Now, I want you to talk about this link that I'm putting up on the screen right now, and will be in the show notes. What is thebusinesssuccess.com/Lois? What will they find at that link, Cathy?
Oh, what they're going to find is an opportunity to take a look at the Business Success Cafe, right, which is my ongoing expert interview series that happens every Thursday, and opt in. right? Take a look at the topics that are coming up. It's a rolling marquee, so we always have new topics coming up every week. But they'll get an opportunity to opt into that for free, and I'd love to have them come and learn from myself and other experts at the cafe.
Awesome. And if you guys go back, I think I was in March, and if you sign on to and pay Cathy, right, to have access to the content, I'm still there somewhere. So I would thank you.
You'll see once you opt in, there's an opportunity to take a look at what we've got on the back end for membership. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, sometimes guys, it's people don't want to say, well, I don't want to be a copycat, but here's the thing. If you copy the right cat in Cathy Demers, I got to tell you, you're going to have a lot of business success. So thank you so much, Cathy, for being here today. I have one last question that I'd like to ask you, that I ask of all my guests. And I love all of the unique responses, because Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, the title of my show, has a huge amount of depth and meaning for me. And when you hear that phrase, Cathy, healthy and wealthy and wise, what does that mean for you?
Oh, that's a bit of a challenging one, because when I took my company public, I really let my health slide. Right. The wealth part kind of got taken care of. And, I think it's really can be a real challenge to find a balance. And I think that if you're lacking in the healthy part or you're lacking in the wealthy part, I think taking a look at the wise piece is important to really invest yourself. And we're so lucky with this technology and figuring out where you need to invest in order to find a balance between the healthy and the wealthy, because you can have both. But if you're not investing in your own knowledge in doing that in both, then I think that's where to look. Wisdom is so important.
Awesome. Which is why I loved having you here today. Again, guys, you're going to want to watch this a few times and save this. I know this will be one of my top 5. And I've done 150 episodes, so I'm slowly catching up to you, Cathy. Not that it's a race, right? I'm just teasing. But I'm inspired by you. And guys, I hope you did as well. And just wanted to wish you guys an amazing week ahead. This is a first time. Next Friday, I won't have a show. We're going to be off that's our holiday weekend here in America, 4th of July. So I want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July a little bit early. We will be off next Friday, only to return back the following week, same time, same channel. So until then, everyone, we love you. I just want to wish you the best health, the best wealth, and the best wisdom journey that's possible. Bye-bye for now.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, refer a friend, and please drop me a rating or a review. If you do that, I'll reward you with a free 20-minute free coaching session on crafting your journey to your best self. Reach out to me at lois@loiscoffee.com to claim your 20-minute slot. Until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.